Of new terminations for thousands of federal workers swept up in mass firings from the Oval Office. The president said more job cuts are coming. Beyond 75,000 workers, the administration says, volunteered to quit with his offer of a promised payout.
It's a big, tremendous saving for us. We want to downsize government, but make it better. Run it better.
Today, outside Health and Human Services, Valentine hearts left for federal workers to protest Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency.
The first convening of federal workers against DOJ.
Among those let go, first-year employees with probationary status, like 39-year-old Elizabeth Anaskevich, fired from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
But I never would have imagined that this is what would have happened, and it would have happened so swiftly and so inhumanely.
At Veterans Affairs, more than 1,000 employees dismissed. U.S. Forest
All right. I think I found out the issue. My apologies, everyone. My apologies. But I'll back this up because there's some relevance here. What I was talking about, hopefully you guys can hear me. I want to make sure you guys hear me. Okay, yes, you can hear me. Good. What I was saying here is that thousands of Americans are getting laid off. And a lot of these Americans have been fired by Donald Trump by the way of Elon Musk. And a lot of these Americans voted for Donald Trump. Now, I don't know what a lot of Americans were thinking, a lot of citizens were thinking when President Trump stated that he was going to streamline the government and cut government waste. Not only did he start a new organization to audit and investigate the federal government, but people had to know they were going to get laid off. And unfortunately, a lot of those people in their probationary period, the first 30, 90, 6 months, however the federal government does it, those were the first to go. And again, I don't know if you guys ever tried to apply for a government position, but it's very difficult to work for the government. They do all sorts of background checks. They want to know your very first job to your very last job. How did you leave that job? They are very, very thorough. And it's very hard to get a lot of these high-level positions, let alone if you're going in to be a GS5. It doesn't matter what department, okay? You have to be highly skilled. Your credentials have to be on point. But nonetheless, we're talking about thousands of Americans who has lost their way of life by the way of their jobs that they just received, and some of those tenured. But don't just think about the government workers themselves. I want you to think about their families. And I'm going to show you more information here. Okay, I'm going to continue. I know you guys could hear this. I'm going to continue on with the clip here, and this is almost done.
Service 3,400. Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration oversees the nuclear stockpile. No specific figure, but a DOE spokesman stated less than 0.5% of the total NNSA workforce was dismissed. A big target for DOJ, waste or abuse of tax dollars. The Government Accountability Office found in 2023 $236 billion in what's considered improper payments wrongly sent by federal agencies. Today, newly sworn in Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins.
And as far as the layoffs go, I don't have the exact number, but yes, those will be forthcoming.
Today, a federal judge extended a temporary restraining order that keeps the DOJ team from accessing sensitive data at Treasury. Lester?
Hey, are you guys familiar how our government just throws around money like it's nothing? Listen, guys, I'm not a millionaire. I'm a thousandaire, meaning I got a couple of thousand in the bank. I'm being very, very serious. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a billionaire. But could you guys fathom how much $1 billion is? And they just show some evidence that the government paid $236 billion in payments that went nowhere. Now, they went somewhere. Okay. On paper, they went nowhere, but it went somewhere. But $236 billion. Let me put you guys up on game very quickly. It takes $1,000 million to make $1 billion. Okay. Now I want you to think about 5 million. Wouldn't you be happy with 5 million? 10 million. 50 million, $100 million. I want you to think about this. If you hit the lotto, if you hit Powerball, $100 million is a lot of money. But now we're talking about 236 billion, and 1,000 million makes 1 billion. That's astronomical. But nonetheless, a lot of Americans are being laid off. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that the government should have been streamlined, but I just think there's a better way to go about this. Now, we just was talking about DHS because in an effort to shape federal agencies, the Trump administration has dismissed over 400 employees from the Department of Homeland Security. And this came about from a broader strategy to reduce the size of government and eliminate positions deemed unnecessary. Like that position's not necessary. That position's not necessary. And the layoffs have sparked debates about national security implications and the administration's approach to immigration and border control. Now, supporters argue that the reduction will lead to a more efficient DHS, while detractors fear it may compromise the department's ability to respond to threats. And the Trump administration maintains that these changes are essential for cutting down on bureaucratic inefficiencies and reallocating resources to more critical areas. See, again, they keep talking about that the detractors and those part of the department are crying out and how these are threats to, the governments and how we should streamline, but no one's talking about the people. There's no government, there's no country without the people. Be one to you, Jesse, as well. There's no government without the people. So while I'm all for DOJ. I love some of the things that they're doing, but again, the president has the power to slow this down. And I'm only saying slow this down for the sake of the people, of the American citizens, which a great portion of them actually voted for Donald Trump. There's a lot of people getting fired. Okay, there's a lot of people getting fired. Nearly 10,000 fired, they state. This is a very large, reduction in workforce because the mass firings across various federal agencies has led to widespread confusion and concern among a lot of government employees. No government employee believe that they're safe. Many workers were given minimum notice, with some receiving just 30 minutes to vacate their offices. You have to go, you have 30 minutes. And the abrupt nature of these layoffs have been criticized for lacking due process and fairness. And unions have filed lawsuits that are challenging the legality of the terminations, arguing that they violate established employment protections. And the administration defines the layoffs as a necessary measure to reduce government size and eliminate inefficiencies. So by having me, the government is very inefficient because I work for you. And we have to look at the long-term impact on the public services, and employee morale remains to be unseen because the government is already slow. Have you guys ever went to a government building? You ever went to a government facility by the way of the state or federal? And you just like, every time I come here, it's such a long line. Now I want you guys to picture thousands of Americans getting fired. And as I always have done this in these past couple of broadcasts when we're talking about DOJ and the layoffs from all these federal agencies that are affecting American citizens, the one thing I pointed out was a couple of clips that involve high-profile Democrats that stem back from Al Gore, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. And I think it's only right that I searched and went out. Don't worry, I only took a couple of hours to do this. Don't worry about it. I did it for you guys. To show someone that whether you black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or otherwise, a lot of people voted for this particular gentleman here. Very popular gentleman. A lot of people voted for him to be president. He became president for 8 years. But some people, and I'm not stating you guys are liberals or conservatives or Republicans or Democrats. I just believe that if we put it on paper, majority of people be conservative, not stating that you're a Republican. But even Barack Obama and a lot of those old school Democrats, because when Joe Biden came on the scene, for some reason, the Democratic political party became very, 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 very liberal. But I will say this, it did start with Obama, with a lot of the passing of the LGBTQ legislation. And I'm not against anyone identifying or being what you are, being or what you be, and they should have equal rights just like everyone else. I'm not stating that. But a lot of the legislation that Obama signed into law benefited people simply because they were part of the LGBT community. I know your counter argument. Your counter argument is, well, they did the same thing for black folk when they did civil rights, which wasn't really civil rights. It was equal rights for everyone. Oh, they did it when they did affirmative action. I want you guys to look at the benefactors of affirmative action. Oh, they did it when they did DEI. I want you to go back and look at the Department of Labor to tell you that majority of people who benefited from DEI was no other than white women, white men, Hispanics, Asians, LGBTQ, and then black Americans were at the bottom. You don't have to call me a liar. Just do the research for yourself and then pat yourself on the back for doing a good job. But without haste, without waste, let me let you guys hear Barack Obama.
One of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. Cutting waste, making government more efficient is something that leaders in both parties have worked on. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative.
I think it's only fair. I think it's only fair that we also look at the Democrats, and I can kind of go back. Don't get me wrong. Let me see if I can go back here and pop up politics. Okay. I want to pop up politics just to see if I can find that other clip. I thought I could find the other clip with Hillary Clinton on it, and everyone's talking. These Democrats were really talking heavy about. I don't know what tab I have it in. Okay, I save clips for reference. I do save clips for reference. But there's been a lot of people that's laid off, unfortunately, and then overnight they cut massive cuts to Medicaid. If you're new to Black Logic, please hit that subscribe button as well as that like sub button. The like sub button helps everyone to get inside the room and be a part of the conversation. So again, this may affect you, somebody you're close to, a family member, a child, okay, a neighbor, okay? And look at some of the departments that they're going to reduce or increase to the budget. Now, agriculture, they're going to reduce it by $230 billion. So anyone who is related to the federal government with agriculture, look out for that. Education and workforce, they're going to reduce it by $330 billion. They're reducing the deficit with energy at $880 billion, almost $1 trillion. And matter of fact, we're already over $1 trillion. Financial services, they're going to reduce it by $1 billion. Homeland security, they're going to increase it by $90 billion. The judiciary branch increased deficit by $110 billion. Natural resources, reduce that by $1 billion. Oversight in government reform, reduce that by $50 billion. Transportation infrastructure, that should have been increased so we can have a better infrastructure, but no, it's reduced to $10 billion. Ways and means, okay, increased deficit by more than 4.5 trillion. Raised the debt limit by $4 trillion. They made a little comment down here. Where was it? There we go. It states that the Energy and Commerce Committee has to reduce the deficit by at least $800 billion over 10 years. The Energy and Commerce Committee overs the Medicaid budget. So that's 880 cut the Medicaid and other federal programs that fall under the committee's responsibilities. And for a lot of you, isn't it very weird that Medicaid and a lot of these supportive social programs for Americans who needs assistance, how they fall under all of these weird departments? I mean, why is Medicaid under the Department of Energy and Commerce? This is a question. That's a really good question. Sam Husky says, how many White House staff, congressional staff, SCOTUS staff were fired? 0, as far as I know. And if they were fired, I don't know if they made it public. They making everything else public. And again, I am for DOJ, but I'm not for the innocent firing of people too fast. Now, granted, someone have been making jokes online about all of these government workers getting fired. They told them there's a lot of fruit picking jobs available. There are a lot of construction jobs available, a lot of distribution jobs available, because we're deporting a lot of the illegal immigrants. Because a lot of Americans first were like, well, who are going to do all these jobs that Trump is deporting all these people who are illegally in our country? Was this a possible ploy to cover some of those jobs? It's very, very difficult to say. And I'm not trying to make light of it, because this is not a really light conversation to have. It really isn't. Because the House committee passed significant cuts to Medicaid and food stamp programs. And the legislation is aimed to reduce federal spending on social welfare programs. A move that has been met with both support, criticism, and proponents argue that the cuts are necessary for fiscal responsibility and reducing the national deficit. And opponents, they're stating that these reductions will disproportionately affect low-income individuals and families who rely on these services for basic needs. And the timing of these sessions has also raised questions about the transparency and legislative process. But nonetheless, Boo moves forward, and it is expected to face intense debate in both the House and Senate. Why would they pass or propose such a thing? Now, granted, a lot of people are saying, yeah, they're cutting social program, no more Section 8, and no more food stamps or EBT. Now, granted, stereotypically, listen in, stereotypically, And unfortunately, black people have been labeled with being welfare recipients in Section 8 housing. And again, I'm going to type this question into Google. What demographic of America is mostly on government assistance? I'm looking that up as we speak. Okay, of course, they say all people of all races. Okay, let's get some statistics here. Okay, I just want to see if that's true. If majority of black people are on government assistance, let's see if they broke this down by demographics. Let's see. Okay. Let's see who are the major recipients. Okay, characteristics of SNAP. Bear with me, guys. I want to show these statistics to you. Now, Pew Research is a very, very reputable site. Okay, we can look at other sources, but I'm just giving you one for the sake of time on this broadcast. Characteristics of SNAP recipients as of 2020. Okay, whites, 72.7%. We can round it up because my math isn't so good, so 63%. Blacks at 27%, and Hispanics at 27%. And the least is Asians at 3.8%. Okay? All right. I'm not going to look at the education. Again, we're looking at SNAP. That's your EBT. That's your food money. Okay, let's see if I missed anything. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not cheating. And you guys can look this up at pewresearch.org. I want to see if they have any more graphs here. Food stamp use varies widely among U.S. states and territories. New Mexico, D.C., Virginia. So a lot of people over here, Oregon, Nevada, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Illinois, some parts of Alaska. You see the numbers here. But they said that the majority of people who are receiving SNAP are white Americans. I'll get it back to you. Here we go, right here. Look at this. Okay, I want to go back here. I want to see if there are any who is receiving social safety net benefits. Let's look into this. Again, I'm doing this very organic. I didn't already look this up. I'm not trying to trap or curtail the statistics here. I'm just looking at. I just want to see if they have numbers. Okay, Okay, they're not really giving me. Okay, SNAP, WIC. Okay, age, sex, race. Here we go. Among the total population in 2022, select social safety net percentages with select characteristics. Okay, so Medicaid, SNAP, WIC. Let's look at this. Okay, I'm hovering over white at 75.6%. Okay, and they said among that, okay, blacks at 13.4%. Is this just the population? Is that just the population? I want to make sure. 14% of Hispanic women between the ages 18 and 64 got SNAP. Okay. I'm just going through the statistics. Is that okay? Am I losing anybody with these statistics that I'm just randomly getting? And this is from a government website. I'm gonna do one more. It says how many people participate in the social safety net. I'm looking at demographics. Okay, I'm looking at demographics. In 2020, 27%. I know that's pretty small. Let me blow that up for you guys. 27% of both adult and child recipients were black. In 2020, 44.6% of SNAP recipients were non-Hispanic whites, and 31.15% were non-Hispanic white as well. That's very interesting, is it not? 21.9% were Hispanic. So again, the major recipients of welfare, Section 8 and SNAP is white people. So the next time yourself being your demographic gets involved in a conversation, they're trying to paint black people in this bad picture that we're all welfare gangsters, hip hopsters, and we're leeching off the government, that we're welfare recipients and babies. Don't even get into an argument, just giving the statistics. Majority of black Americans, believe it or not, are in the middle class. Now, majority of our middle class are part of the lower middle class, meaning you probably make $60,000 to $35,000 a year. We do have at least 1 million Black Americans that are homeless. So that increases the numbers of being in poverty. A lot of us are sectioned off in low income housing. So that sections off. But as far as the benefits that this country gives out, the majority doesn't go to Black people. So when we're talking about DEI initiatives, and the Department of Labor came out with the statistics to back that up, I'm just saying I agree with President Trump. Cut those DEI initiatives. Go ahead, cut them. Maybe we can have another form of equality in this thing. It's possible. Now, Vice President JD Vance, he has elicited very responses from the international community, because a lot of the European leaders in particular have expressed concerns over Vice President's remarks at the Munich Security Conference and the U.S. approach to climate change and free speech. He's cracking jokes on the world stage. Now, granted, JD Vance is around my same age. I think we're like 2 years apart. I think JD Vance is 44 or 45. So he's still probably young at heart in a very important position, but he's cracking jokes. And additionally, if we look at the mass layoffs within the U.S. federal agencies, because that have raised questions about America's commitment to international aid and cooperation, especially with the downsizing of agencies like USAID, and the administration continues to implement its policies. And it's facing the challenge of balancing domestic objectives with maintaining strong international alliances. So this is probably not the time within Trump's first 100 days to crack jokes. Are you guys abreast of the going situation in Gaza? I'm just going to read just a little bit here, because they stated that they have released some hostages. And Trump on Truth Social stated Hamas has just released 3 hostages from Gaza, including an American citizen. They seem to be in good shape. This differs from their statement last week that they would not release any hostages. And the reason why Trump is saying that, because he basically gave them a threat. Like, if you don't release these hostages, all hell will break loose. That's what Trump said. But Israel will now have to decide what they would do about the 12 o'clock today deadline. So let's just see if we can just click on this. I want to see what he said here. The rest of this actual tweet here that was forwarded on X. Deadline imposed on the release of all hostages. The United States will back the decision they make. So again, Trump is standing 10 toes down with Israel about this hostage situation. No comment. Did you see that video that a lot of the Jewish entertainers got together against Kanye West? Now, I don't have it, because basically they were giving Kanye West the middle finger. And the reason behind that protest was that Kanye West has come out with a lot of what they deemed and labeled anti-Semitic tropes and anti-Semitic statements and comments, and that he has retracted from his apology to the Jewish community. And so the Jewish community made what I call a silent sort of video where a bunch of them just wore FU fingers to Kanye. Okay. And I think at the end, Adam Sandler actually said F you, yeah. Because usually you might have 1 or 2 rabbis from the Jewish community come out and state that, they will talk about people being anti-Semitic, but you never seen them all together come out against one person. So that was very, very different. And the one thing that shocked me when I saw, a lot of these Jewish people come out and do this somewhat of a silent video to really show their, defaming Kanye West, to turn their nose up at him of the comments he's been making. I didn't see not one Black Jewish person. I pause for effect. Again, I didn't see not one Black Jewish person. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, because a lot of us deem being Jewish is being a certain race and or ethnic. I've even talked to some Jewish people and they told me that being Jewish is an ethnic. I said, if they tested your DNA, your blood with, let's say, a person from the UK, from Britain, who's not Jewish and they're Christian, would your blood work come back the same if both of you seem to be and appear to be Caucasian? Because I was always trying to find out what race, or when they say ethnic, do they mean ethnic within the Caucasian white race, or they mean something different altogether? Because I think a lot of the people are very confused. And not that we need to know their race, that isn't important. But the point I'm making is, and I want to ask you guys here in the audience, are there any Black Jewish people? Because I've met Black Jewish people, but when the entertainers got together to give the middle finger to Kanye West, I didn't see not one Black Jewish person. So I'm just asking because I'm ignorant. Are there any Black Jewish people that you know? Do any other Black Jewish people or entertainment, do they actually exist? Wait a minute. What was the short, dark-skinned Black guy's name? Very famous. He used to tap dance. Sammy Davis Jr.? Wasn't he Jewish? Hold on, I'm just, again, I just want to make sure I'm not being stupid. Sammy Davis Jr., was he Jewish? This is why we have the internet. I'm just popping this over. I'm being very organic right here. I didn't try to change anything, okay? Yes, Sammy Davis Jr. converted to Judaism in 1960. His decision was controversial and marked by some, but Davis maintained that his racial and religious identities were compatible. This is a Black man during the 60s. So are you born a Jew or do you become a Jew? I'm just asking questions because I want to learn. I'm ignorant. Okay? Again, I'm not going to dive too deep into this. But he converted to Judaism, or Judaism. My apologies. Judaism. I'm just asking questions. I'm going to read some of your comments very quickly here. Jesse says, oh, Sam Davis Jr. Okay, yeah, he converted. Jacqueline says, great show as usual. You always come with great information. Well, thank you for that. I try to come with good information. I just want to make sure you guys are informed and that I'm not being biased or that my broadcast has a lot of conjecture. I try to stay as neutral as possible. Now, granted, I do have my personal biases. But when you're giving information, when you're giving the news, I want my news uncontaminated. But nonetheless, one of the best part of this broadcast, you get your jury from your mother. Okay, Rock. Rock is cracking jokes. You caught me off guard. I shouldn't have read that out loud. But anyway, this is the best part of the broadcast because I have an opportunity to teach you guys about somebody that you probably do not know. But I want you guys to think about every time you enjoy a glass of fresh juice, you sip on a smoothie, or you're using a juicing machine, you're benefiting from the brilliance of a Black woman whose name has been nearly erased from history. We're talking about Madeline M. Turner, the innovative inventor who revolutionized fruit pressing by designing an efficient and practical fruit press. Her invention improved juice extraction, making it faster and easier. It paved the way for modern juicing machines used in homes and industries today. Her patent, granted back in 1916, was a major step forward in food processing technologies. So when you see all of these commercials with all of these old guys on TV pushing these juice machines, I want you guys to think about no other than Madeline M. Turner, because she's the one who patented the juice machine. Now, of course, despite her groundbreaking contributions, her name remains largely unknown because you didn't even know that until today. But nonetheless, we celebrate Madeline Turner, the Black woman who transformed fruit processing forever, because back in the early 1900s, Black women were faced with severe racial and gender discrimination, especially in the world of science, engineering, and business. But Madeline Turner refused to be held back. She designed a more efficient way to extract juice from fruit, improving on existing manual presses. She applied for a patent and was granted the U.S. patent on April 25th, 1916, at a time when Black women were rarely recognized as inventors. She broke through and made history. Her invention laid the groundwork for modern juicers, making fresh juice more accessible to people from around the world. Turner's invention, fruit pressing, was inefficient and labor intensive before Turner's invention. A lot of the fruit presses were very inefficient and very labor intensive before she came along. She made juice extraction faster and easier, reduced waste by extracting more juice from fruit, inspired future innovators in industrial and home juicing machines. She helped shape the modern juice industry from small kitchens to large-scale beverage productions. Now, of course, despite her brilliant invention, Turner, like many others, faced limited recognition in history books and scientific records. Few opportunities to profit from or expand of her invention. She also had systematic barriers that kept Black women out of the engineering and patent world. But yet her contribution still made an impact, and her legacy lives on every time you drink fresh juice. She holds a U.S. patent for the fruit press, proving her place in innovation history. Her design influenced future juicing machines used in homes and the food industry. Me, myself, I have a fruit pressing machine or a juicer that was $300 that my wife wanted. But anyway, when we talk about Madeline Turner, she opened doors for Black women and innovators and inventors, proving that innovation knows no color or gender. Let's just leave color out of it and look at the people for the contributions. Madeline Turner's fruit press paved the way for modern juice extraction, yet her name remains largely unrecognized. So the next time you drink a glass of fresh juice or use a juicer, I want you guys to remember no other than Madeline M. Turner. Madeline, we take a moment here today and we salute you, Queen, for the contribution that you made not only to Americans, but to the world that we know. And I thank you all joining him this evening. I'm going to read some of your comments here. Jacqueline said they do a poor job separating the religion from the ethnic group. They cause their own confusion. Okay. Roger said you get your okay. Bucker Trump Krishner. Okay. They allow people to convert to their religion, but discuss their group as an ethnic group versus a religious group makes absolutely no sense. They need to separate lineage. Okay. Let's see here. No judgment. All right. Thank you guys for joining me here this evening. I do appreciate your time. You guys have a great and wonderful evening. By the way, tomorrow I'm going to do a broadcast, and that will be my last broadcast for an entire week. I'm taking a hiatus. I've been working pretty hard here. I don't know if you guys have been benefiting or appreciating the hard work, but I'm tired. I love what I do, but I'm just keeping it real with you guys. I'm going to take 1 week off. It's going to be hard for me not to broadcast, but I'm going to try it. I need some rest and relaxation, but I do thank you for your contributions to Black Logic nonetheless. But I'm going to take a hiatus after tomorrow, and hopefully you guys don't miss me too much, but I'm definitely going to miss you guys and giving you guys the news. But nonetheless, I see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great and wonderful evening. This is Black Logic.